Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Let me first give my usual disclaimer that this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research, and please remember to keep it polite in the comments. Next, a huge thank you to my subscriber, Sandra Mendenhall, for recommending this video and for picking me to be the one to cover it because it's so greatly appreciated. Okay, and with that, let's start. Brittnee Drexel was born on October 7th, 1991, to parents John and Dawn, and the family resided in Rochester, New York. When Brittnee's mother gave birth to her, the two were just teens, unmarried, and would wind up not working out. Brittnee's father would end up moving to Florida and not be reunited with her until she was 16 years old. But not long after this, Dawn married a man named Chad Drexel, before he and Dawn would go on to have two children together, a little girl that they would name Marissa and then a son. Brittnee was born with a condition called persistent hyperplastic primary vitreosis, or PHPV, in her right eye. This is a rare congenital developmental anomaly of the eye. Brittnee was forced to undergo several surgeries and ended up losing sight in the eye. She would wear contacts to cover up the fact that her eye would wander. At the time of her death, Brittnee was a junior at Gates Chili High School. She excelled in soccer, with her mother saying that even though she was small, she could run down the field at lightning speed. She had dreams of becoming a cosmetologist and a model. In 2018, her parents decided to separate and were in the midst of a nasty divorce. This put Brittnee into kind of a slump and left her feeling down, and her grades began to slip. With all the turmoil going on at home, Brittnee was eager to get out of the house. She asked her mother for permission to go down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, with her boyfriend, John Greco, and some girlfriends for spring break of April 2009. For those of you that don't know, Myrtle Beach is a popular tourist destination. It has 60 miles of beaches, fabulous golf courses, food, and shopping. It also has a boardwalk with amazing rides, games, and arcades, and one of the country's tallest Ferris wheels. Brittnee's mother, Dawn, said hell to the no, not in those exact words, but what she does say is that she had a premonition that something bad was going to happen.
She'd go to Myrtle Beach. And I said, Brittnee, you're not going to Myrtle Beach. No, you are not going. She goes, why, Mom? Nothing's going to happen to me. I said, Brittnee, I said, there's no parental supervision. I said, I don't know the kid you're going with. And I said, something's going to happen to you.
So Brittnee tried to compromise, and she asked her mother if she could go to her friend's home on Lake Ontario. Her mother, Dawn, believed that she was talking to her girlfriend's mother, assuring her that there would be adult supervision there. But in actuality, Dawn was talking to one of Brittnee's teenage friends. Her mom agreed, and on October 22nd, 2009, Brittnee left and headed for Myrtle Beach, not Lake Ontario. She would arrive in Myrtle Beach on April 23rd, 2009, and call her mother from the Bar Harbor Hotel to tell her that she had arrived in Lake Ontario safely. Her boyfriend John spent the break home in Rochester. Brittnee and her girlfriends would hang out at the beach and play volleyball during the day and go clubbing at night to a bar called Club Kryptonite. But Brittnee and her girlfriends would not stay so happy with each other as the trip went on, after she discovered that the friends she was with were into the DRUG scene, and Brittnee wanted no part of that. She repeatedly sent text messages to her boyfriend that she and her friends had begun to argue. She was all alone on the trip and she was miserable. Her boyfriend John told her to just try and have some fun, reminding her that it was her vacation also. On April 24th, 2009, the night before her disappearance, she was filmed hanging out in a hotel room with a boy that she had just met. She actually walked up to this stranger and asked him to walk her back to her hotel room. This was a stranger to her, but nevertheless, the Good Samaritan and gentleman decided to walk her back. April 25th, 2009. Brittnee meets up with a friend that she knew from Rochester named Peter Borowitz, who was staying at a hotel called the Blue Water Resort, which was about a mile and a half away from her hotel. Her plans for that night were to hang out with Peter and his friends and grab a pair of flip-flops that she had left in his car and then walk back to her hotel room. Before Brittnee left, she borrowed her girlfriend's shorts. CCTV from the resort showed Brittnee arriving at the Blue Water Resort at around 8 p.m. She was also spotted leaving the resort, alone, about 10 minutes later. The reason for this being that Brittnee's friend wanted her shorts back because she wanted to wear them that evening, and she demanded that Brittnee bring them back to her immediately. The entire trip, Brittnee was in constant contact with her boyfriend, so much so that after 10 minutes of no response, John would begin to panic. He began texting her with threats of calling Dawn if she did not respond to him. John said that around 9:15 p.m., the texts just stopped. 30 minutes later, there was still no response. That's when John decided to call Dawn. He told her that Brittnee was in Myrtle Beach and that he couldn't find her or get in touch with her. Obviously, her mother Dawn was shocked and angry at first, but then the panic set in. Because Brittnee's family was in Rochester, the police in New York told them that there was nothing that they could do for them. That's when John phoned a friend from North Carolina and asked them to drive to Myrtle Beach and file a missing persons report, to which the friend obliged. Brittnee's entire family and her boyfriend John all hopped in cars and drove down to Myrtle Beach to find her. Peter Borowitz and his friends, who were the last people to see Brittnee, would raise red flags after they left the hotel room at 2 a.m. without checking out, without getting back their deposit, and leaving a bunch of their belongings behind in the hotel room. Once they got back to Rochester, New York, Peter would hire a lawyer, which would make suspicions grow even stronger. It is presumed that Peter obtained a lawyer just for precautionary measures. He fully cooperated with police and all of their stories matched up. The reason for the quick departure was due to one of their friends' moms demanding that they come home immediately. Officers estimated that it should have taken Brittnee about 15 minutes from the time she left the resort to the first traffic light camera that picked her up while she was walking towards the Blue Water Resort. But the camera never catches her walking back. Cell phone records would reveal that at 9:27, just 30 minutes after she last talked to John, her phone pinged cell towers in Surfside Beach, which is about 7 miles south of Myrtle Beach. It would take about 2 hours to walk to this location and about 15 minutes to drive there. With the rate of speed that the phone was traveling, police concluded that she was no longer walking, but was now in a vehicle, or at the very least, her phone was. 2.5 hours later, at 11:58 p.m., her phone pinged 50 miles south of Myrtle Beach near Georgetown County. This is an isolated rural spot near the South Santee River and the Pole Yard boat landing. Then, after this, Brittnee's pink cell phone would either die or be shut off. Myrtle Beach police would begin their search in the area surrounding the last cell phone ping. This is also an area that you wouldn't know about or go to unless you were a local. This was not a good sign, especially because this area was boar and alligator infested, along with poisonous snakes and insects. So even if Brittnee was alive when she got there, she likely would have been eaten within 6 hours. Police had 3 counties, helicopters, and dogs searching for her, but nothing. And there would continue to be nothing for 7 years. Then, police would get a break in the case. A prison inmate named Traquan Brown claimed that he had been an eyewitness to Brittnee being taken to a stash house, GANG R word, by 8 to 12 others, and then SHOT and dumped in alligator-infested waters by Timothy Taylor of McClellanville and his father, Timothy Taylor Sr. He went on to tell police that he heard gunshots inside the house, then witnessed Timothy Taylor and his father bringing out a female body, wrapped in a rug, and putting it inside their car for transport. In addition to Brown's testimony, another unnamed inmate claimed that Timothy Taylor had taken Brittnee for sex trafficking purposes. Taylor, who has one arm from a childhood incident, was just 16 at the time these claims were made. At the time the informant had claimed to have seen Brittnee at the stash house, Taylor was in his third period class at Lincoln High School.
The FBI first became aware of Taquan Brown in 2016 when he provided to them what he says was his first-hand account. Brown says he first saw Brittnee at this stash house in McClellanville, South Carolina, about 75 miles south of Myrtle Beach in April 2009, just 2 days after she disappeared.
On this Monday, April 27th, I saw the girl.
In the stash house?
Yeah, it was about 12 guys in there.
7 years later, in 2019, the informant's story would change. He would say that he actually saw Brittnee alive 3 times instead of 1. The first instance was 2 days after she disappeared, and that was when she was being SA'd. He said the second time he saw her was when she was being by Taylor, and that he saw her alive for a third time 5 days later without Taylor. This time, she was at a mobile home about 100 miles away from McClellanville on a secluded dirt road.
This now abandoned trailer is where Brittnee Drexel spent her final days. That is the claim from jailhouse informant Taquan Brown, identified as an eyewitness by the FBI. The trailer belonged to Brown's uncle, Herman, and sits on a 4-acre overgrown lot 130 miles away from where Brittnee was vacationing in Myrtle Beach.
Tristan was in by the stash house. She was in another town called Jacksonville.
He says the third and final time that he saw Brittnee was when he witnessed her being SHOT twice with a double barrel by a man named Nate. There was never any definitive evidence or corroborating witnesses to support this story. On top of this, some of the people that Brown claimed were present when he saw Taylor with Brittnee were in prison at the time.
But News 10 NBC has confirmed that the FBI was at the property just last week, searching the grounds for clues. Since our last investigation into this, the story we did a couple of months ago, we know that you've been to that location in Jacksonville. Can you tell us, did anything come from that search?
Let me ask Torrance real quick. I really can't offer, again, the specific details, but we are making progress. We're taking steps. Steps lead to other steps, and we're going in the right direction anyway.
The FBI decided to use Brown's false claims to go after Timothy Taylor in hopes of forcing a confession and cooperation in Brittnee's case. According to court documents, the U.S. Attorney's Office pursued new charges in 2016 against Taylor for a 2011 robbery, where an employee was SHOT and that Taylor was the getaway driver. Taylor was found guilty and sentenced to 18 months probation. But in 2016, the prosecutors convinced a grand jury to warrant new charges because they were dissatisfied with Taylor's sentence, and a 3-count indictment was returned. Taylor was then arrested and jailed on the new charges. He would end up having no choice but to plead guilty since his guilt to those charges had already been proven. Taylor was eventually granted bail, but the FBI warned him in open court that they would pursue the death penalty if he refused to cooperate in the Brittnee Drexel case. The government offered to recommend a lighter sentence for Taylor if he agreed to take a polygraph, a lie detector test, and pass it. Even though polygraphs are not admissible in court, Taylor agreed to take the test and the results would come back inconclusive. Even after all this, federal prosecutors said that Taylor was being deceptive throughout the entire test, even when answering his own name. Then in June 2017, Taylor took another polygraph, and this time he failed. Agents would say that Taylor was not being truthful when answering no to if he had ever met Brittnee in person, and answering no to when asked if he knew for sure who was involved in Brittnee's disappearance. Throughout the June 2017 test, Taylor grew irate and ended up storming out of the room before the test was even done being administered. As a result of storming out on the polygraph test, the DOJ would recommend a sentence of 10 to 20 years for being deceptive. So in case you're wondering, Taylor's lawyers filed to have the charges dismissed, arguing that because he was tried, found guilty, and served his sentence for the 2011 robbery, trying him again for this would go against his double jeopardy protection from the U.S. Constitution. Despite this, Taylor's case was allowed to move forward, and in December of 2021, Taylor was sentenced to 3 years of probation on one federal armed robbery charge, and the case was closed again. Taylor was never charged in connection to Brittnee's case and adamantly denied any role in her disappearance.
Investigation into this, the story we did a couple of months ago, we know that you've been to that location in Jacksonboro. Can you tell us, did anything come from that search?
Let me ask Torrance real quick. I really can't offer, again, the specific details, but we are making progress. We're taking steps. Steps lead to other steps, and we're going in the right direction anyway.
An attorney for Taylor read a statement from him that said, quote, "I had no involvement with anything to do with Brittnee Drexel. I don't know Taquan Brown, and I don't know why he would call my name. I am being prosecuted again for a crime I already helped them solve and already did my time for, all because some guy in prison is trying to cut a deal. It's not fair to be charged for the same crime twice, and that's not how our justice system is supposed to work." End quote. This is just so incredibly unfair and infuriating, and I cannot believe that detectives, prosecutors, and judges would allow this injustice to move forward. They have single-handedly tarnished this man's name, with their only evidence being 4 different stories from an inmate that's serving 25-year sentence for MURDER.
Good afternoon, everyone. I must say, to God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. Amen. We are here today, and our hearts do go out to the Drexel family, as we always have. We understand the tragic loss of Brittnee, of her life, and it has changed her family forever. As a mother of 3, I truly understand. It pains me to even think about losing a child. When my son was 4 years old, he lost his arm, and that caused him to fight for his life. 13 years later, at the age of 16, we was faced with the possibility of losing him again. The years-long fight against accusations, false accusations, and the media frenzy that ensued us has traumatized us, affecting every aspect of our lives. It has publicly questioned without reason our family's character, and it has shaken us to the core. Now your time. Take a deep breath. All right. Now your time. The latest developments in the case of Brittnee Drexel confirm what we knew from day one, the truth that my son Timothy was suspected without any creditable evidence of a crime he did not commit. My son maintained his innocence in the face of relentless pursuit by local and federal law enforcement, investigators, and the media. Our family stood by him and consistently spoke out against the false accusations that too often are directed at people who look like us. An age-old story in America. Today I stand here surrounded by family and close friends and speak on Timothy's behalf because my son has endured enough.
Yes.
Take it on. We are on your time.
He has been legally cleared of these accusations and the public is now learning the truth, but the damage has been done.
All right. All right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
His name and face will forever be linked to Brittnee Drexel because of a lie. That pain is beyond words. We're not relieved. We're enraged that it took this long. I've asked members of the media for years to refrain from naming Timothy in association with this case, but those stories were written and cannot be unwritten. I now ask that they help us correct the record and in doing so, allow my son to share his truth when he is ready and willing. My sincere hope is that this never happens to another family. I call for law enforcement to halt the practice of disclosing unfounded leads and names of potential suspects without credible evidence. Doing this has real-life consequences and a lasting disparaging effect on so many, particularly us, black families. And we've suffered the ramifications of being falsely accused far too long. In the coming days, our family will have more to say, but for now, this is our official statement. We will not be taking any questions at this time. Thank you all for being here.
The case would once again go ice cold until May 11th, 2022. A man named Raymond Moody, who has a history of SA and who was a suspect in the Brittnee Drexel case, was arrested for obstruction of justice.
About the missing teenager?
No, I do not.
Can you tell us where you were back in April of '09?
Goodbye.
Ray, can we talk to you for a minute, real quick?
You know what? I'm going to call the police in a second. You better split.
Can you just tell us where you were in April of
I got
09?
nothing to say to you. You understand that?
While there, Moody decided to confess to Brittnee's. He confessed to SAing Brittnee before her to death at a boat ramp near the Sanity River, and then burying her 30 miles away in a wooded area. After the confession, Moody agreed to take detectives to Brittnee's body. She was later identified through dental records. In 1983, Kerri Harding went to meet her friend for a playdate at their school's playground. While walking, she ran into Moody, who was standing by his car bouncing a basketball. She says that everything happened in seconds. In the blink of an eye, Moody had Kerri in his car and was speeding away. He drove her to an abandoned housing construction site where he told her, "Has anyone ever told you you have a beautiful body?" She would go on to say that he then told her to get in the back of the car so they could screw. Because she was only 8 years old at the time, she had no idea what that meant. After brutalizing her for hours, she was finally able to convince him to let her go to the bathroom while he held her hair. When Kerri urinated, a pool of blood came out of her, and it caused Moody to lose his grip on her hair. She was able to quickly run away and find a couple who was looking at a listing with a realtor. The couple called police, but by the time they got there, Moody was long gone. Not long after that, Kerri's mother and aunt would take her around the area that she was taken from. Sometime later, Kerri would end up remembering that Moody had a green bumper sticker on his car used by military members for them to get access to naval shipyards. Moody was found and arrested the following day. In 1983, Moody was found guilty and sentenced to 42 years in prison for the SA on the then 8-year-old Kerri Harding and at least 6 other girls. He would only end up serving less than half of his sentence, though. Now, I'm no mathematician. I actually suck at math. But my calculations seem to determine that had the court made him serve the, in my opinion, light sentence, Brittnee Drexel would be alive today. Kerri would go on to say that when Moody was first named as a suspect, she called police and told them to compare her file to Brittnee's file. They did, and Kerri says the similarities were uncanny.
Childhood memories can often fade. For Kerri Harding, the events from the winter of 1983 are etched in her memory permanently.
By the time I get up to his car, he's unlocking the passenger door of his car and he threw me in the car. And he drove off and had me out of there so fast I couldn't even blink. Like, that's literally how fast it happened.
Raymond Moody is the man who took Kerri.
And he, assaulted me brutally for hours.
By telling Moody that she needed to go to the bathroom, Harding was able to escape from his car, run, and find help. Harding immediately told her family. Her family filed a police report.
My mother and my aunt got in the car with me every single day and drove all around below, up and down every street, looking for the description I had given them of his car. So it wasn't very long later when the police ended up finding him.
What Harding didn't find out until a few months after her attack was that she says she was one of 7 girls under the age of 14 that Moody also kidnapped and assaulted.
You know, when you're the 6th of 7 girls, what you know for sure is that he's never going to stop doing this.
In 2012, when Moody was first named a person of interest in Brittnee Drexel's case, Harding says she spoke with police in Myrtle Beach and told her story publicly.
I did everything I thought, that I could possibly do to help them have evidence, to support the fact that he had done this to Brittnee. For instance, I was telling them to get my records here and compare them to Brittney's. And in fact, they did. And they said that the similarities were uncanny.
This was also the first time that Kerri was notified that Moody had been released. Do better, South Carolina.
The charges landed him with a 40-year sentence, but he was released in 2004 after only serving 21 years. That's when he moved nearly 3,000 miles from California to Georgetown, South Carolina. Harding has been emotional since she found out Moody was behind bars again. Those emotions multiplied yesterday.
I was just sickened. That's all I can say. I was just sickened. He needs to be put away forever. He's not going to stop.
And to Drexel's family, Harding has a tearful apology, one she knows she'll never hear for what she went through.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this happened to her.
Okay, guys, if you're still here, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting if you haven't yet. It would mean so much to me. It truly would. And it would help me out so much. If you have any other case suggestions, you can email me at harding527@yahoo.com. Typically, as long as the available information is on my side, I will cover the story you suggest. This is not my channel. This is our channel. And until next time, guys,